Welcome to CreepyTalks, where hidden fears come alive through chilling horror tales. Dare to listen as every story pulls you deeper into the darkness. Story 1, The 2:17 a.m. Member. When I first started working the night shift at the gym, I thought it would be the easiest job in the world. The place was called Iron Pulse Fitness, a 24-hour gym on the edge of town. During the day, it was packed with people. Weights clanging, music blasting, trainers yelling. But at night, it was different. After midnight, the gym felt hollow. The lights stayed on, but the building felt too big for just one person. And most nights, that one person was me. My name is Daniel, and I was the overnight desk clerk. My job was simple. Sit at the front desk, check members in, clean equipment, and make sure no one broke the rules. The cameras covered almost every corner of the gym. Almost. There were a few blind spots, mostly around the locker rooms in the far back hallway where the storage rooms were, but I never thought much about that until the night the 217 members showed up. It started about 3 months into the job. I remember the exact time because I checked the clock on the wall. 2:17 a.m. The automatic door slid open with a quiet hiss. I looked up from my phone, expecting the usual late-night regular. Maybe one of the college guys who liked to bench press at insane hours. Instead, a man walked in I had never seen before. He was tall, very tall, and thin, like painfully thin. He wore an oversized gray hoodie with the hood pulled low over his face. I gave the usual greeting. "Hey man, just scan your card." He didn't respond. He walked slowly toward the desk. Something about the way he moved made my stomach tighten. Not stiff, not injured, just unnaturally slow. Like he was carefully copying the way humans walk. Finally, he reached the scanner and slid a key card across the desk. I picked it up. The name on the membership was Evan Keller. The picture on the screen popped up, except the photo looked nothing like the man standing in front of me. The guy in the photo was muscular, clean-shaven, and maybe 30. The man in front of me looked wrong. His skin was pale. His lips looked almost gray. And his eyes, when he lifted his head slightly, I saw them. Dark, completely exhausted looking, like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. "You Evan?" I asked. The man stared at me for several seconds, then he nodded. Once, slowly. Something about that moment made the air feel colder, but technically the membership was valid, so I handed the card back. "All right, you're good." He didn't say thank you. He just turned and walked toward the weight area. At first, everything seemed normal. I watched the security monitors while scrolling my phone. About 15 minutes passed. Then I noticed something strange. The man wasn't using any equipment. He was just standing in front of the squat rack, staring at the mirror, not lifting, not stretching, just staring at his reflection. I leaned closer to the monitor. He hadn't moved for almost 5 minutes. "Okay, that's weird," I muttered. Finally, he grabbed a barbell, but instead of adding weights, he removed them, all of them, until the bar was empty. Then he lifted it, once, twice, 3 times. Then he put it down and went back to staring at the mirror. Another 20 minutes passed. Then something even stranger happened. He turned his head, not toward the equipment, not toward the locker room, but directly toward the security camera. And even though cameras are silent, I felt like he was staring straight at me. The way he looked into that lens made my skin crawl. Slowly, he smiled, but it wasn't a normal smile. It stretched too wide, too tight, like someone forcing their face into the shape of a human expression. I suddenly felt very aware that I was alone in a massive building at 3 a.m. I cleared my throat and looked away from the monitor. Relax, I whispered to myself. He's just a weird dude. But the uneasy feeling wouldn't leave. At 3:05 a.m., he disappeared from the camera view. I checked the monitors. 1, 2, 3, nothing. He wasn't on the weight floor anymore. He wasn't on the cardio machines, which meant he was either in the locker room or the back hallway. The hallway that had no cameras. A tight knot formed in my stomach. Technically, members weren't allowed back there, but people sometimes wandered looking for the bathroom. So I grabbed the flashlight from under the desk and stood up. The gym was silent. The music system had automatically shut off at 3. All I could hear was the faint hum of fluorescent lights. "Hello?" I called. No response. I walked past the treadmills, past the bench presses, toward the dark hallway. My shoes squeaked softly against the rubber flooring. "Sir?" I called again. Still nothing. The hallway light flickered when I turned the corner, and that's when I saw something that made my heart slam against my ribs. The storage room door was open, just a few inches. That door was supposed to stay locked. Slowly, I pushed it open. The room was pitch black. I raised the flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness. Cleaning supplies, boxes, towels, but no person. I exhaled. Great, I'm imagining things. Then I turned around and nearly screamed. The man was standing directly behind me, less than a foot away. I hadn't heard footsteps. I hadn't heard breathing. Nothing. Just suddenly, he was there. Up close, his face looked even worse. His skin looked stretched tight across his cheekbones. His eyes were bloodshot, and his smile, that horrible smile, was still there. "Jesus," I gasped. "You scared the hell out of me." He didn't react. He just stared. Then he spoke for the first time. His voice sounded dry, like someone who hadn't used it in years. "You shouldn't be back here." I frowned. "Actually, members aren't allowed back here." For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then he tilted his head slightly and said something that made my blood run cold. "I know." Then he walked past me, back toward the gym floor, like nothing had happened. I stood frozen for a few seconds, my heart racing. Something about that entire interaction felt deeply wrong, but technically he hadn't broken any rules. So I returned to the desk. At 3:40 a.m., he left the gym. Same slow walk, same silent exit. The door slid shut behind him, and suddenly the building felt a little less heavy. But the story doesn't end there. Because the next morning, the day manager called me into the office. He looked confused. "Daniel, did someone use Evan Keller's membership last night?" "Yeah," I said. "Tall, skinny guy, gray hoodie." The manager stared at me, then slowly shook his head. "That's not possible." "Why not?" He turned his computer screen toward me and showed me the member file. Under the name Evan Keller was a note dated 2 weeks earlier. The note read, "Membership closed. Member deceased." I laughed nervously. Very funny, but the manager wasn't smiling. He clicked another tab and pulled up a police article. My stomach dropped as I read the headline. "Local man found dead in apartment. Possible starvation." The picture below the article was the exact same man who had stood behind me in the hallway. But in the photo, he looked healthy, muscular, alive. The manager leaned forward slowly. "Daniel, when exactly did you say he came in?" My mouth felt dry. I looked at the clock memory in my head and whispered the time. 2:17 a.m. The manager's face turned pale. because according to the article, that was the exact time the police report estimated Evan Keller had died. And the worst part? Later that night, when I checked the security footage again, the camera at the front desk showed the door opening at 2:17 a.m., but there was only one person visible in the recording. Me, standing up, scanning a membership card, and speaking to someone who wasn't there. Story 2, the locked locker room. When people think about creepy places, gyms usually aren't the first thing that comes to mind. But if you've ever been inside one late at night, when the music stops and the crowds disappear, you'll understand something. Gyms are huge, full of mirrors, full of echoes, and full of long hallways and empty rooms. And sometimes, you realize you're not as alone as you thought. This story happened to a woman named Rachel, who worked the closing shift at a small 24-hour gym. And even today, she refuses to step inside a locker room alone. Rachel worked at a place called Titan Core Gym. It wasn't a giant commercial gym like the ones in big cities. It was smaller, 2 floors, weight room upstairs, cardio area downstairs, and at the very back of the building, the locker rooms, men's on the left, women's on the right. Each one had showers, lockers, benches, and a long mirror that stretched across the wall. Rachel had worked there almost a year, and most nights were boring. Her shift ended at midnight. The routine was always the same. Clean the machines, spray down the benches, check the locker rooms, turn off the lights, lock the doors, go home. But one night, something went wrong. It was a Tuesday, dead quiet. Only 3 members had come in after 10 p.m. By 11:45 p.m., the gym was empty. Rachel checked the cameras just to be sure. Weight floor, empty. Treadmills, empty. Entrance, empty. Everything looked normal, so she grabbed the cleaning cart and walked toward the locker rooms. The hallway lights buzzed softly above her. First stop, the women's locker room. She pushed the door open. The smell of shampoo and disinfectant hung in the air. She quickly checked the showers. Empty. Checked the stalls. Empty. Checked the lockers. Everything normal. She turned off the lights and closed the door. Next stop, the men's locker room. She knocked first. Gym staff, anyone still in here? No answer. She opened the door. The room looked empty, but something felt strange. The lights flickered slightly. Rachel stepped inside and pushed the cart along the tiled floor. Her footsteps echoed loudly. She checked the showers. Empty. She checked the bathroom stalls. Empty. She started wiping down the benches. Then she heard something. A metal clang, very faint, like someone tapping a locker. She froze. Hello? No response. The sound came again. Clink. Rachel turned slowly toward the lockers. They lined the wall in long rows. Dozens of identical gray metal doors, all closed. She walked closer. Gym is closing, she said. If someone's here, you need to come out. Silence. Then suddenly, bang! One of the lockers slammed shut. Rachel jumped. Her heart started racing. Okay, not funny, she muttered. She walked to the locker that had slammed. It was closed, but the small ventilation slots in the door were dark. No light inside. She hesitated, then slowly pulled the door open. Inside, nothing. Just an empty locker. Rachel frowned. Maybe it didn't latch right. She closed it again, finished wiping the benches, then grabbed the light switch near the door. The room went dark. Only the dim hallway light spilled inside. Rachel stepped out and locked the door. She was halfway back to the front desk when she heard it. Bang! The locker room door rattled behind her. Rachel turned. The door handle shook once. then stopped. Her stomach tightened. She walked back slowly. Maybe someone had been inside a stall, and she missed them. It happens sometimes. She unlocked the door and pushed it open again. Hello? Silence. The room was dark. She reached in and flipped the lights back on. Everything looked exactly the same. Empty. Rachel checked the showers again. Nothing. Checked the stalls again. Nothing. Then she noticed something that made her pause. One of the lockers was open, wide open, the same one she had checked earlier. Rachel stared at it. I definitely closed that. She walked over. Inside the locker, something was lying on the bottom shelf, a gym towel, but it was soaking wet, dripping. Water slowly pooled onto the tile floor. Rachel picked it up. The towel felt ice cold, like it had just come out of freezing water. Okay, that's weird. She tossed it into the laundry bin, closed the locker, and left the room again. This time she locked the door behind her. 10 minutes later, she was finishing paperwork at the front desk. The gym was silent. Midnight passed. Technically, the building was now closed. Rachel grabbed her bag, turned off the lobby lights, then started walking toward the exit. That's when she heard it, a sound that made her entire body freeze. From the back hallway, she heard running water. Her stomach dropped. The locker room showers, they were on, but she had turned them off. Rachel slowly walked back down the hallway. The sound grew louder. Water splashing, shower hitting tile. She stared at the men's locker room door. Still locked, still closed. The water was definitely coming from inside. Her hands started shaking. Hello, she called. No response. The water kept running. Rachel unlocked the door again, pushed it open slowly, and what she saw made her blood run cold. All 6 showers were running, full blast, water pouring onto the floor, steam filling the room. Rachel stepped inside. Is someone here? The shower curtains swayed slightly, like someone had just moved them. Rachel walked to the first one, pulled the curtain open. Empty. Second one. Empty. Third one. Empty. Her heart pounded louder with every step. Fourth. Empty. Fifth. Empty. Only one left. The last shower. The curtain was closed, but the water running inside sounded strange, not hitting the floor, like it was hitting something else. Rachel slowly grabbed the curtain and pulled it open. Inside the shower, someone had written something on the fogged mirror tile with a finger. 3 words, dripping slowly as the steam faded. You missed me. Rachel felt the blood drain from her face. Her breath caught in her throat, because behind her, from the lockers, she heard something move, a slow metallic creak. Rachel turned. One of the lockers was opening, very slowly. The same locker, the one with the wet towel. The door opened wider, and inside the darkness, she saw fingers, long, pale fingers gripping the metal edge. Something inside the locker shifted, like someone unfolding themselves from a space far too small for a human body. Rachel didn't wait. She ran, sprinted down the hallway, grabbed her keys, unlocked the front door, and ran outside into the parking lot. She didn't stop running until she reached her car. The police searched the gym that night, every room, every locker, every hallway. No one was inside, but they did find something strange. Inside that locker, the metal interior was covered in deep scratches, like someone had been trapped inside, trying desperately to claw their way out. And the security cameras? They showed Rachel entering the locker room twice, but according to the footage, the locker that opened behind her had been slowly opening by itself for almost 10 minutes before she even noticed it. Rachel quit the next day, but the creepiest part came later, when the gym owner reviewed old records. Because 10 years earlier, a homeless man had broken into the building after closing. He hid inside a locker to sleep. No one found him, and the next morning, the locker room door had been accidentally locked. The man died trapped inside that metal locker. And according to the coroner's report, when they finally opened the locker days later, his body was found curled inside the exact same locker Rachel opened that night. Story 3. The trainer who never left the basement. Most gyms have areas members don't think about, places they rarely see, storage rooms, utility corridors, maintenance spaces, and sometimes basements. The gym in this story had one, and according to the employees who worked there, something in that basement never left. The place was called Black Ridge Athletic Club. From the outside, it looked completely normal. 3 floors, glass windows, bright neon sign. Inside it had everything: cardio machines, weights, yoga studios, even a small smoothie bar. But there was one area most members didn't know existed: a basement level beneath the building. It wasn't meant for members. The basement held storage rooms, old equipment, electrical panels, and a small private training space that hadn't been used in years. At least, that's what everyone thought. The only way down there was a narrow stairwell behind a locked door marked "Staff-only." Employees rarely went down there unless something broke. But one former trainer used to go down there all the time. His name was Marcus Hale. Marcus was known as the most intense trainer in the gym, mid-30s, tall, strong, always pushing clients harder than anyone else. But people also said he was strange. He hated crowds, preferred working late, and often stayed hours after closing. Other trainers sometimes joked that Marcus lived at the gym, but eventually the joke stopped, because strange things started happening. Members who trained with Marcus said he had a habit of disappearing mid-session. Sometimes he would suddenly say something like, "I'll be right back," then vanish down the staff hallway. Sometimes he'd be gone 20 minutes, sometimes longer. When he came back, he looked different, sweaty, out of breath, eyes wide like he'd been running. But he never explained where he went. One night, a receptionist named Kevin decided to find out. Kevin worked the late shift. Marcus was finishing a private training session around 11:30 p.m. Kevin watched as Marcus wiped sweat from his face and told his client something strange. "Same time tomorrow," Marcus said, "but if I'm not here, don't go looking for me downstairs." The client laughed, thinking it was a joke. Marcus didn't laugh. After the client left, Kevin watched Marcus walk down the staff hallway. Kevin waited a few seconds, then quietly followed. At the end of the hallway was the basement door. Kevin saw Marcus unlock it, step inside, and close it behind him. The hallway fell silent. Kevin stared at the door. His curiosity burned stronger than his fear. Finally, he walked over. The door wasn't fully closed, just slightly cracked. From the gap, faint light spilled out, and Kevin heard something. Not voices, not music, just heavy breathing, like someone recovering from intense exercise. Kevin pushed the door open and stepped onto the stairs. The basement smelled different, damp, dusty, old. The air felt colder. Kevin walked slowly down the narrow staircase. At the bottom was a long concrete hallway, lit by flickering fluorescent lights. The breathing sound echoed faintly somewhere ahead. "Marcus?" Kevin called. No response. He walked further down the hallway. Then he saw something strange. The door to the old training room was open. Dim light glowed inside. Kevin stepped closer, and peeked through the doorway. What he saw made his stomach twist. Marcus was standing in the middle of the room, facing the wall, not moving. His back muscles twitched slightly under his shirt. Kevin frowned. "Marcus?" Slowly, Marcus turned around, and the expression on his face was terrifying. His eyes were wide, completely bloodshot, and he looked scared, not angry, not annoyed, just deeply afraid. "Kevin," Marcus whispered, "you shouldn't be here." Kevin laughed nervously. "Dude, you disappear down here every night. What's going on?" Marcus didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked toward the dark corner of the room. Kevin followed his gaze. There was nothing there, just shadows. Marcus swallowed, then whispered something that made Kevin's skin crawl. "It's listening." Kevin rolled his eyes. "Okay, man, you're freaking me out." But Marcus grabbed his arm suddenly, hard. His grip was shaking. "You don't understand," Marcus said. "Once it knows you've seen it, it doesn't let you leave." Kevin pulled his arm free. "Seen what?" Marcus looked toward the corner again. The darkness seemed deeper there, like the light didn't quite reach it. Kevin felt a strange unease. Then suddenly, something moved, not clearly, just a shift in the darkness, like something large slowly adjusting its position. Kevin's heart skipped. "Did you see that?" Marcus nodded slowly. His voice was barely a whisper. "It lives here." Kevin forced a laugh. "You're messing with me." Marcus shook his head. "I found it 3 months ago. Every night it gets closer." Kevin stared at the corner again. His eyes adjusted slowly, and that's when he saw it. 2 shapes, low to the ground, reflecting the light. Eyes, huge eyes staring from the darkness. Kevin stepped back. "What the hell is that?" Marcus looked like he might cry. "I don't know, but it doesn't like when people leave." The eyes blinked, slowly. Then the darkness shifted again. Something large moved forward. Kevin suddenly realized the shape was far bigger than a person, his body filled with cold dread. "What is that?" Kevin whispered. Marcus backed toward the door. "It's been growing," he said. Kevin didn't understand, but then something happened that made his brain stop working. The creature unfolded, limbs stretching, bones cracking, like a body that had been curled up too long. Kevin saw a long arm slide into the light. The skin looked gray, tight over something that didn't look like human bones. Then the head tilted, and the creature spoke. But it didn't use its own voice. It used Marcus's voice. Perfectly. "Kevin." The sound echoed through the basement. Kevin turned to Marcus. His face had gone completely pale. Because Marcus hadn't spoken. The voice had come from the thing in the corner. Then it spoke again, still using Marcus's voice. "Stay!" Kevin ran. He didn't wait. He sprinted out of the room, up the hallway, up the stairs, bursting through the door into the gym. He didn't stop until he reached the parking lot. Kevin never returned to work, and the gym eventually fired Marcus when he stopped showing up. But a few months later, the building owner decided to renovate the basement. Workers went down to clear out the old training room. That's when they found something disturbing. The concrete floor had been covered in deep claw marks, like something extremely heavy had been dragging itself across the ground. But the strangest part was the wall, because scratched into the concrete were hundreds of words, the same sentence repeated again and again, over and over. "It learns your voice." The gym still operates today, but the basement is permanently sealed. No staff are allowed down there anymore. And sometimes, late at night, employees working the closing shift say they hear something echo up through the floor. A faint voice, calling from somewhere below, perfectly copying the voice of whoever is standing above it, whispering only one word. Stay.